platformers. As a game that I grew up with, platformers were one of the biggest of its genre for a long time. Now, they're still very, very, very important in modern society and in modern games. But a lot of sites neglect them and forget that platformers even exist, because obviously there are so many subgenres of platformers out there right now. But I think that platformers still deserve to be recognised as a genre, so I of course include them as a list on my Curator page. Dust Force, obviously I've done it as a single play, so you get a video to watch on it. Unfortunately, I was playing on keyboard at the time because controller issues, which Steam have actually fixed now, but very, very, very fun game. I would recommend. So if we click through to... That watches the video. That's not what I'm trying to do. Well, we can watch a bit of the video. I was going to say, if we click through to the Steam page, it's awful that it doesn't actually let you do that from the page, unless, like, if it's something like Exception, you can click through to the Steam page because I haven't got a video for it. So that's actually a bug that Steam needs to fix. But yeah, we'll go back. We'll come to Exception. Like, there's no way, other than going to watch the full review on YouTube, to click through to Dust Force. That is interesting. But yeah, it's a well-known platformer. It's like a puzzle platformer, speedrunning sort of challenge where you go around cleaning up levels, and like there are dust monsters and things that you can go fight as well, which do for some things. Obviously, we're in some sort of glitch world. I like to mess about and faff about in some of these things, but yeah, you clean up the different levels. Oh, that's like still tutorials. Because it made me redo tutorials. Yeah, so you clean up the leaves in the levels, and obviously you can speed through them. So obviously I messed up there, I missed a bit. The whole point is to try and speed through as quickly as possible and gather all of the leaves, and then like build it all together to try and get the best score that you can. Then you hit some of those piles of leaves, and then you jump through. So yeah, it's a very interesting, very well done platformer with nice physics. Obviously, if you mess up, you want to restart rather than trying to do the awful jumps, because obviously some of the jumps are challenges, and if you mess up a jump like that, you're just gonna add so much time to your score. And sometimes, even if you really screw them up, like you haven't killed a specific thing that you need to, which, like, those sorts of things, you get an extra jump off them, it can really just mess up your entire run, obviously. I screwed that up entirely. You might have used the power there. I was smacking them individually rather than using the power. So that made me lose a lot of time. I still got S ranks, which is impressive considering how badly I screwed that up. And then you get some keys which you unlock different levels in the overworld. So yeah, it's a very interesting game. And obviously the overworlds have their own sort of challenges as well, and then they're all in different things. You've got a bunch of different characters you can play. We've spent way too long on that. Right, you're stopping the video anyway, let's just pause that video. And then we've got Exception, which is more of an action-y sort of platformer, but it's got twisting levels, so I like twisting levels and mind-bending sorts of things like that. So it's a neon, very colourful game, and the levels twist around you and you do different things, and you've got to try and do all the challenges to make your way to the exit. There are a bunch of bosses in it. It's, again, more on the speedrunning, sort of speeding through levels to get the best completion sort of thing, with a lot of challenges that you can do. But yeah, it's definitely a recommended platformer for certain. Obviously, they're both positive. That one, again, I'd love it to be able to show the stuff, but there's no way to get it to actually show everything. And then we've got Knit Underground, which is, for £5, actually an amazing bargain. Obviously, it says it took me 16 hours. I like to put how many hours it took me to complete the game in many instances. It's a challenging, fun physics platformer, as it says. We'll have to obviously click the video to show it off. I like to go into like the secret worlds in some of these videos and like show off some of the stuff, because obviously I've already completed the game at this. I'm doing a single play because I just played it myself offline rather than doing a full playthrough in video form. So many of the things that you'll see in the video, obviously it's going to take forever to load for some reason, will be in secret worlds. And some of these secret worlds in this game like don't have backgrounds and things. They're like in weird overworld sorts of worlds, and then like a lot of them will be in interesting things. You should just look at the videos, okay? Look at the individual videos and check it out for yourself. You can turn into balls, and the ball has cool physics to do things, and there's There's a lot of exploring, there's lots of storyline, there's a lot of interesting things to do. It's just a humongous game. There's a lot of secrets which I didn't even uncover. I like bouncing about just the ball and going into these nether realms, which are all hidden away in their own micro world, and they're strong challenges. And then obviously you got to do things which involve flinging your physics about, and there's a lot of interesting physics. These things grab you to manipulate your ball, and there's a lot of gravity manipulation again. I like that in a lot of these platformers. So obviously they get well rated for me, and for £5 this is like really highly recommended. But again, if you follow the creator page, you can curator page, you can see when these things are on offer, right? This is the big challenge, because you have to try and dunk it in that thin hole without hitting any of these walls, because these walls will kill you, and then you've got to get to that a tiny thin hole at the end. But this is not how hard the main game is. This is just like after completion, and your ball will bounce off everything really hard. So you can see I got it in the hole and it was just bouncing off really hard. Maybe I should have turned back into human at that point, but it's challenge. It's a challenge, and these things, you don't get full control. It's like it just sucks you in. You have to try and swing backwards and forwards with it, sucking you towards it with gravity, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, Not the easiest thing in the world to do. Ah, that's how you get to it. So if you hover over the game and then you go to that, and then you can click to the creator. So you can see there's a lot of interesting things. There's a lot of Easter eggs, there's a lot of hidden secrets in there. But there's definitely a lot to do. And then Cave Story, very well done, very cool storyline, very retro, lots of really awesome music, very fun shoot 'em up. So this is more of a shoot 'em up platformer, but again, highly recommended. Like, these are all really good games. I really loved it. Obviously very fun. I didn't put how many hours it took me to do it. I think I might have completed it, some of it whilst Steam was offline, so to see that. Move or Die. This is more of an online multiplayer. I was going to say, is their trailer not going to involve the actual gameplay, because that would suck. So it's very frantic mini games where it's like essentially for free for all in a game, and you'll fight and shoot and do different challenges. Very fast paced, very fun. Definitely recommend this multiplayer platformer. Just get through. It's very cheap, and a lot of people don't really know it. Obviously, it's like very monochrome. You can unlock different sorts of color schemes. You can unlock different sorts of challenges. I obviously got very good at it and ended up like in top scores on the day challenges a lot, and so much so that the game literally just starts to do everything in its power to kill you, including make the level just entirely fall apart. So you kind of can't go further than where I got it to, but still it was a lot of fun. Very fun, recommended game. But I got so good at it that at the end the whole world just falls apart, and it was like literally doing everything in its power to kill you. So there's no further that I could get than that. NU Arcade, free to play. What? There's a lot of stuff in that trailer that I never said. They've added stuff to this. There was like 3 levels when I played it. Obviously, very retro, very interesting. There's cutscenes now. Interesting. I've not seen those cutscenes. That's cool. And then there's that big mech running. There's more to the game than even when I played it. Apparently, they've added even more. But it's very fun. It's like Super Meat Boy sort of physics on the walls, but with shoot 'em up and interesting things, and like some pretty interesting and hard challenges. But yeah, it was a really good game and free to play, and like I said, retro feel, very well done pixel graphics, very well done physics, which is like very important. Like, considering this, look, like that's half 3D and then it's half like retro on the side. There's been updates since I covered this for certain, and like the fact that there are cutscenes now, they're definitely, and it's free to play. Just play it, foreheads. It's a good time. It's a good time. Bite the Bullet. It could have been interesting, but the runs and the levels are just way too long. Like, this video is becoming way too long to complete just one level. Like, it really is. Even if you speed and run through it, it's like humongous. and needlessly so. So it's just I'd rather it be short, which is also it's got mixed reviews because the levels are just too time intensive, and it's just ruins the fun that you'd recommend out of it. Death Fungi. Mostly positive. Obviously, this is a very challenging, puzzly sort of platformer. Very, very Meat Boy-esque. You've got different things that can happen with the different characters that you come across, and you've got to try and manipulate them to try and get past them without actually... You can't fight them, so you have to try and manipulate them to move out the way so that you can get past the different levels and the different rooms. It's £1.99 and it's very, very challenging. There's some definite challenges, and yeah, I'd recommend it. It's cute, it's fun, it's hard. Don't get me wrong, it's hard, and but for it's £1.99 and it's a pretty good challenge. It's a good time. I'd recommend it, and like mostly positive. A lot of people recommend it. It's cheap, Meat Boy-esque platform with a little stealth, multi-screen dungeons. Difficulty gets hard, but it teaches you the mechanics, and it's really cheap and really fun. Neversong, obviously, it's award-winning according to that. It's got a very interesting storyline to it, and it's a platformer again because I'm going through the platformer. But this is more of a Metroidvania sort of platformer where you go along, you gain powers and things, and you learn a lot of the storyline, and you unlock things as you go along. Definitely interesting. Definitely worth it for the storyline. Definitely fun. There's a lot of running backwards and forwards towards the end, like across the map to one side and to the other. But maybe I did things wrong there. And then you learn these the music, because obviously music was important to that, and then they help you unlock the extra things. But yeah, it's a good time and definitely recommend it. Ninja Pizza Girl. Obviously you got to deliver pizza. This is again more of a speedrunning sort of challenge platformer, so you're just speeding through the levels trying to get through as quick as possible. There's some interesting storylines to it. It's a colourful and fun time. Underpaid teenage ninjas delivering pizza, and then there's a quirky storyline to it for certain. There's a lot going on. It's pretty cheap. It's pretty cheap fun. It's a good time. Good time. It highlights on depression, funny comic book style, like I say. They bleed pixels. Very, very well known. Very challenging 8-bit challenge. They've added a lot to it since. Obviously, it's again very Meat Boy-esque with all of the spiky walls and all of the circular saw blades and things. Lots of enemies to fight in this one, so this is more of an actiony, combat-y sort of thing. But it says it's like one button, but there's a lot of moves that you can do with it, surprisingly. So yeah, there's a lot more than like what it claims for one button combat. There's a lot that you can do for certain. And yeah, it's cheap, it's challenging, it's good. Leeds. Obviously, it's very cheap initially, but with 60% off, it's like £1.59 right now. Again, very, very, very retro. More of the Sega sort of era in this sort of period. Platformer where you zoom about like Rocket Knight Adventures powers, and very similar bosses, but with the shoot 'em up. Yeah, definitely a good time, definitely fun. Again, emphasis on speeding through it, but I liked it. The bosses are very unique, very cool storyline, very, very Sega for certain. But yeah, it's cheap, it's great. It's a great tribute to platformers. Limbo, more of an artistic puzzle platformer, very, very dark. The first very artistic one on the PC, I'd say. It spawned a lot of dark narrative storyline sort of driven platformers, and as the first of its genre, it was definitely recommended. It never overtly says anything. All of the storytelling is done through visuals, which was groundbreaking at the time. Obviously, it was a long time ago that this came out, but it was very, very, very good. It still is very good. It's very fun. A lot of people play it. Definitely worth a good play. The Expandables. It's a free-to-play version of, a different game that they have got out, but, it's based on the Expandables movie. Obviously, running and shooting. It's free-to-play. You should just go play it. And, if you like that, then you go buy their actual Devolver game that's the exact same game, but you pay for it. But yeah, like you get 3 levels in this. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of silly memes in it. So you know it's a good time. Obviously, a lot of Devolver games are. A Battle Princess Madeline. Again, very retro. This would go back to harken to like early Nintendo sort of era games. And obviously there are some that are very, very well known and very similar, even like the areas that you traverse and like picking up the weapons are very reminiscent of certain games and the bosses. But yeah, it's very, very authentically done and very challenging. They did remove some of the challenge early because a lot of people complained, but then the last levels, like the platforming, becomes very difficult because there are many death pits which force you to start over. There's a couple of modes. Obviously, there's the arcadey mode, which is like truly authentic to the Nintendo equivalent, and then there's like the roguelike modes. I played through the roguelike modes, and you know I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was a good time. It was good fun. Challenging at times, especially towards the end. The end got very difficult. But yeah, like you want it to be challenging, and you know the bosses, they're interesting. They're varied, and there are a lot of powers that you can unlock. So yeah, it's pretty good. The pogo hopping, very annoying. Became very annoying. Not a hero for $2.99, really good price. Obviously, again, very retro 8-bit, except in this one you've got to complete certain challenges throughout the levels in as quick as time as possible. So whilst it's an action shoot 'em up platformer, it's again, you know, very speed oriented. Again, you know, we're trying to show the variance of all the platformers. So this is again a bit of variation to some of the ones that we've had. Weapon of choice. This is an action platformer shoot 'em up, but this you have like permadeath on your characters, so you have to find and rescue characters. Very trippy, very acid trip for certain, very weird monsters, very weird bosses, and very weird storyline because everything goes very twisted. There's a mechanic where if you get close enough to the enemies and the danger, time slows down, and you can use that to do certain things, and then you've got to try and find the hidden path to try and make your way through the worlds. It's an interesting experience. It's like it's £4. It's pretty cheap. You know, it's fun. So you know, obviously it's positive. It's recommended because it's cheap and fun, and you know you get a good time. And I recommend the Mom is Best Games action pack because you get 4 varied shoot 'em ups, including this platformer shoot 'em up, for a very low price. So you know that's highly recommended. Volga the Viking, very Amiga sort of style action platformer, challenging physics. You got very limited powers and permadeath, and it's a very difficult challenge, but very authentic, and obviously you very similar to Battle Princess Madeline in some ways, where you pick up certain powers and it's like armor over your aspects of your character, and then very challenging platforming and levels with a lot of bosses and enemies spawning around you at times. So yeah, it's an interesting experience. Obviously, Black Hole, it's an Indelacio star puzzle platformer with really awesome mechanics and gravity that's really well done. The momentum shifting from twisting the levels and you know using your momentum to traverse the levels, with a really awesome storyline, really good voice acting, and a humongous amount of gameplay for very little price. I would highly recommend. Lumos, very different platform. This is like a third-person puzzle platformer, like a 3D sort of one. And you gotta go around trying to change the world to your color as your character. There's a bunch of different mechanics that you'll discover along the way. Very well made, very colorful, very cute, very interesting, and I enjoyed it highly. It's a highly recommended game. I don't know why there's no price on this. I don't know why the price isn't visible. That took me 5 hours to complete. This been delisted? Why? Why is there no price? It's an awesome game. Like it's got awards. It's award winning. It's a really good game, and I don't know why there's no price for that. Yeah, it's very fun. There's a lot of cool mechanics, lots of things to learn, lots of cool puzzles, very colourful worlds, like lots to discover in it. Very good. Zack Hauser and Deadly Spawn. Very cheap, very fun action platformer, you know, very standard shoot 'em up platformer, very twisted, very challenging, but you know, it's pretty cheap. Like I'd recommend it. It's for a little price, it's a good time. Now, Ministry of Broadcast. This one is a very cool one. This is more like the flashback and another world sorts of narrative exploration platformers with puzzles, a little bit of shoot 'em up in there, lots to explore. Basically, you're running for your life, and a lot of cool storyline, lots of narratives on mental health and things like that. Very good experience. Took me 7.5 hours to complete. Secrets to discover, you know, platforming challenges. It's a cool one. It's a good one. And we've got Emma Lost in Memories, which is just, you know, like one world, one screen sort of levels, but the world falls around you as you run through it. So it's an interesting, challenging platformer. I'd say it's sort of a puzzly platformer because obviously you've got to puzzle through how to get through whilst the world's falling apart around you. Obviously, the instant you step on a platform, that starts to fall apart, so you've got to use that to try and get through all of the death challenges. Then you gain more powers as you go along. So it's cool. It's cool and interesting. Definitely worth it. Recommend. Tesla Grads, more of the standards sort of platformer roguelike. You explore the world, you gain more powers, there are bosses to fight, there are enemies to fight. It's got a cool storyline. Demo, go check it out. Definitely recommend. Dust and Elysian Tale, definitely really awesome roguelike action platformer with cool mechanics, cool fighting, like an anime sort of narrative. Lots to explore, lots of bosses, very colourful, lots of variety in the enemies and stuff. Really good, and quite emotional, quite touching. So definitely good. Goner, obviously, it's like shoot 'em up, retro, 8-bits, roguelike with bosses. It's very recommended. Obviously, there's a sequel out now. You should just maybe go check out the sequel. Braids, very awesomely done puzzle platformer with like bunch of time manipulation mechanics. The twist in every world, because there are a bunch of different worlds, and the way that time reacts to you and the way that you manipulate time in each world changes. There's hidden secrets, there's things to find, there's a really good storyline, there's twisted narratives and reversing of things, and it's really good puzzle platformer with time travel mechanics and time manipulation mechanics, and like really well done. For the price, it's actually really good. Geometry Dash, really cheap. You know, it's one of these get through, you're constantly moving, but you have to bounce up and down, twist the levels, do these different things. You've got a bunch of different powers that you can use to jump up to different levels and different things. Very colourful, very unique, very cool. Obviously, I'd recommend it because it's really cheap and it's got coolish music, and you know, if you like that sort of music, it's got very colourful style, very challenging. You can build and share your own levels, so there's a heck of a lot of the game that you can do for it. Next to nothing. There's daily challenges, there's special things. It's the Impossible Game meets Flappy Birds. it's a good time. Copy Kitty again on the Indelacio Stars. Really awesome. So many cool different powers that you can use. Check out the Indelacio Stars video for more on that. Highly just get it. It's like so well done. So much game, so many different powers, a lot of storyline. Really awesome. Truly authentic retro. Very good. Now, A Walk in the Dark, £5 for you play as a cat. Obviously, Meat Boy-esque again. Some levels are different, like the cats you're running through, but then there are some auto runner levels with the girl. And you know, I'm not necessarily a fan of the auto runners, but the rest of it, you know, it's a pretty fun, pretty interesting challenge, very challenging. There's a lot of unlocks to do in it. It's a good time, so I'd highly recommend it. So yeah, these are platformers. Go check out the platformers. Obviously, there are more platformers that I've played, and there might be more added over time. But yeah, platformers deserving of their own recommendation. What's the word? Recognition. Yes, they deserve to still be recognized, even in today's games. Like, there's such variety in platformers, but platforming in itself is a mainstay of gaming. It definitely needs to stay recognized. And I would recommend all of these games.